And we're up. It's Thanksgiving morning. Why not work on a chainsaw? You know what I mean, guys? You know what I mean? Might as well get something done. Had my coffee. Had my pie. So, I'm good. Actually, we were up for a bit last night making the pies. We made one pie. 2 people here already. James is here. Yep. 4 people here already. Who else is here? Morning, James. Hey, Brandon. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. So I figured, you know what? I'll just go live, get this 350 put together. Nothing crazy. All my other stuff done. Five people here. Who's here? If there's anybody I haven't given a shout out to, please, chime on in. Little brake cleaner. Just want to make sure this is nice and clean before you put the flywheel back on. Hey, Larry. How you feeling this morning? Paul Borden. Good morning. I was over there watching the Thanksgiving Day parade, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to work on a saw. Got this thing to put together. We've got to make sure, careful clearance on the flywheel to the transfer ports here are bumpy, so it clears. But not by much. Ready to eat like a king. Okay. Just some nylon rope. Paracord is fine. I've had my pie, so I'm good, I don't go crazy with the torque on these. Probably rated to like 26 foot-pounds. I have used 13 foot-pounds for a long time. I don't seem to have trouble. And it's still not easy to get these off, so I don't think it's a problem. All right, since it's been overnight on the 1184, I think, Paul, I think the spec is 26. I'm not sure. I only use 13. Literally go to half the spec. Gotta make sure this gets a good coat of oil here. Put some oil in the exhaust. How do I time what? Going live? I go live whenever I feel like it. How do I time the saw? Well, you're talking about two different. There's actually two different timings on a chainsaw. One is ignition timing, and I've explained this in another video. But one is ignition timing. So in the rotation here, in the 360 degrees of rotation, there's ignition timing, which is during the rotation. It's when the coil fires off. It gets the spark plug to fire. That is, like Brandon just said, that is preset. You can adjust it some if you file the key on the flywheel and move the flywheel forward or back, but you only get a few degrees of advance or retard if you do that. And really, a lot of the Huskies don't necessarily benefit from timing advance or really messing with it at all. It's pretty good right off the bat. So if you're talking about ignition timing, the ignition timing on these is preset, and there's really not a lot of need to mess with it for what we're doing. And even if we do lots of port work and whatnot, you really just don't need to mess with the ignition timing on these saws. Some of the steels really do benefit from ignition timing, but not generally. As a rule, not generally the Huskies. Port timing is different. So again, during the rotation, as the piston moves up and down, the engine is a valve, and the valve opens and closes at different times. And the way to adjust timing there is to grind on the ports. And number one, grind on the ports, but number two, if you're actually doing machine work, if you're machining the base of the cylinder head so it sits down further, you're going to adjust timing that way as well. So if in the rotation, the exhaust opens at 105 degrees and you wanted to open it at 103, you have to grind on the port a little bit so that the exhaust comes up. Goes down. Down is this way. Anyway, so there's all kinds of different ways to mess with that. Does that answer your question, James? 8 people here. Who's here? When I worked on this head last night, I wasn't really trying to change the timing necessarily. It did, but not globally. I wanted to make sure that all the ports open evenly. Because if you have 4 transfer ports, because this is quad port, and 2 of them open at different times than the others, then that's not good. Then the valve is not as efficient. The whole thing's a valve, so you want the valve to have nice crisp opening all at the same time, and then you get the best power. And I can go in and mess with the head otherwise, but for what this saw is going to do, it's not going to matter. And I want to make darn sure that this thing lasts. We've had an issue with that, very obviously. So. Throw things. All right, so this is the ignition coil. And in general, Huskies are kind of notorious for ignition coils going bad. Hey, Eric. I've had my coffee, so I'm good this morning, you know? If I don't put it down tight, gotta find the other screw here. Here somewhere. Zaccato diagram. Good afternoon. Good morning here. It's Thanksgiving Day here, so. We're working on a 350 on Thanksgiving Day. Why not, right? I always end up doing some project on Thanksgiving. I was working on we had first gotten the sawmill. I think it was over Thanksgiving. I remember right. We were trying to get that thing to cut for the first time. And now it's just a matter of time putting this thing back together and finding one bolt. There goes that. The bolts on the 350s are definitely specific. Ignition coil bolts are different than pretty much anything else on the saw. Remember, it's a plastic case, so what I do is I bring this down and then back it off a couple of turns. So this has got to move, you know. There's the magnets over here, so I want to bring that magnet around with a business card. And the business card keeps the ignition coil. Morning, Ken. Happy Thanksgiving. The business card keeps the ignition coil about 10 thousandths away while you tighten it down. $3:21 p.m. now in Connecticut. It's 9:21. 9:21 a.m. in the morning. This is basically a brand new wire here. The kill wire setup. Brand new setup here. Don't want to mess it up. Tuck it under. Kids are having fun with the bird upstairs. Bandmail Bob, you did. Denman Saws. You heading to work today on Thanksgiving. Sorry, buddy. Thank God for work, though, right? Gotta stay busy. Oh, okay, you're up. Okay, yep. We'll forgive you then. Have to forgive the Canadians. They don't know any better. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. Where is... Oh, there. Right. Yeah, that's fine. What I had forgotten yesterday was to attach that. That's good now. This sits, there's a nub here on the jet that goes up into the baffle here. Best of luck, Ken. It's windy out there, like real windy. Thought the house was going to blow away last night. And before I snug them, make sure it didn't bind, you know. Ken, you're supposed to tell them to go away. You know what I say when I see those? Go away. Don't work on them. You know, you don't do it. Figure it out yourself. You know, I don't know. Just I can't do it. Can't bring myself to do it. This feels a little too long. Could always switch this over for Tygon if I need to. Which I may want to. Stanley Brand, hello from Ohio. Hello, welcome. We do videos live, so if you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to put those forth. It's definitely the best thing about live, is you get to question, comment, heckle, you know, all that stuff. 12 people watching Thanksgiving morning. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Service technician for Easy Go Golf Cart Company. Okay. So what brings you to a chainsaw site? I'm not actually exclusively chainsaws, but it happens to be my focus as of late. I think other people on YouTube would look at me and say, oh, yeah, I'm a chainsaw guy. So what brings you to a chainsaw channel? Setting up a shop to put the chain. Okay. Which ones you want to do? You want to do the Chinese kits? You want to do? Are you getting, used ones off of Craigslist or eBay or something like that, or what are you planning on? Paul McMahon, happy Thanksgiving. One thing to remember about 350s, if the AV system is not intact, then this can stretch, and then the throttle ends up catching here and stays full on. So don't ever use, on a 350, don't ever use this on your lanyard. Not here, okay? Attach it maybe on the top handle, but you do not want to stretch this way. Very important. Talk about learning that the hard way. And the throttle doesn't work good. It just doesn't work proper unless the AV mounts are fully, intact type of thing. So that's good there. Let's go over here. The oiler. $11 people here. Anybody I haven't given a shout out to? See, I said, let me want to start my AV. The foot pad shattered like glass. Oh dear. Well, that's an oldie. The 028's. Bit of an oldie. One of the things that I'm desperately trying to do is have things that is mainly, not all, but mainly have saws that I can get parts for. Stuff that's relatively easily serviceable. And these 350s are like a perfect example because you can get so many different parts for these things. You can get aftermarket, you can get OEM still, you can get, there's a used market like crazy for these things. Just lots and lots and lots of parts available. So I'm trying to not get anything that's so esoteric that it's impossible to have parts for, you know? It's just a philosophy, my philosophy. You can pay attention to it or not. Now, some cranks have a hole in them and then a hole here to also lubricate the bearing. This does not. So just stick some lube on. There's your oiler pinion, which is fully intact, by the way. Yeah, you know, Stanley, a lot of people fall into that same trap. And please, I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm just just trying to say that there are plenty of people that are really good mechanics, and then they get to a chainsaw and they just fall flat on their face. It's very, very common. It a lot of it doesn't translate. A lot of it doesn't translate. It just doesn't quite fit. Chainsaws are weird. They're really, really odd piece of equipment. There's so many things that can go wrong with these. It's there's so many little things that can go wrong in a very small package, you know, and so they can get real frustrating to people. So yeah, James just posted, Stanley, if you end up taking saws apart or trying to put them back together, James just posted my link or my email address. You can email me for crank tools, and you can see elsewhere on my YouTube channel about crank tools. Low Kim, cheap prices are good. Yes, I agree. Steve Thurl, turkey, turkey. How's it going, Steve? I don't even think we're doing turkey today. I don't care. It just does not affect me. We're hanging in. I've had my coffee. I've had my pie this morning. I'm good. Let's see if we can get that muffler on. Clutch is left-hand thread, yes. Did I already do a tour of your toolbox? No, well, not in a bit. I haven't done it in a bit. You want me to do that this morning? I can do that. I can show you guys what we've got going on down here. Sure. So the heat shield actually goes up against the head here, and then the gasket, and then the muffler. And you don't want to forget there's a support in the front here that is actually for the 346 XP, but you want to use that here on this saw too for sure. I've modified it so there's only one leg, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, low chem just you know, remind me about the toolbox tour. Yeah, Paul, you know, well, this is actually what I would consider about, I don't know if it's the smallest saw that you need, but this is 50cc, and if I need two saws, I need a 350 or 346 XP and my 394s. You know, either a 394 or a 288. Those, you know, for a two saw plan, that's what you want to do. Because the 350 you can run a 20-inch bar on. I like it with a 16. Stanley, there are plenty of guys that like those saws, you know? Plenty of guys that like those saws, but it's not me, you know? It's just not me. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just for what I do, and I don't actually do that much cutting, unfortunately. I do a lot more rebuilding than I do cutting, just because that's kind of what I've fallen into. And because I've only got half an acre outside. It's not like I've got a lot to cut down, you know? So I end up helping friends and family and whatnot. But Paul, you definitely have a good point, you know, is like, not everybody needs to be building these gigantic saws. I tend to think the bigger saws are a little easier, and frankly, a little more worth it as far as, you know, bang for buck and time and all that jazz. Metric Allen, yeah, these are 4 millimeter. A lot of this saw uses a 4 millimeter Allen, and these are actually just Harbor Freight T handles, and you know what? It works really good. I've been using this for a while. And I'll show you that here in a minute. They work just fine. Stanley's a machinist by trade. My grandfather was a prototype tool and die maker, Stanley. And I wish he was around for me to pick his brain. Grandpa and Grandma have been gone for a number of years, but it would be nice to have him. He was one of those guys that if you said, you know, 3/64, he'd be able to tell you exactly how many 4 decimal places, what that was exactly in thousandths of an inch. You know, just because he remembered that. But when he was, you know, alive and coherent, I wasn't quite at the time where I would have been really good to ask him real good questions, you know? Harbor Freight often has 25% off coupons. So they regularly should find a 20% off coupon, single item, no problem. Look for the 25 percenters on special days. And yet, Stanley, you're exactly right. Chainsaws are a mystery to so many people, to so many really smart people. Just there are some really, really brilliant people that the chainsaw just eludes the concept of it, how it's put together, how it functions, and what's going on if there's a malfunction. And I'll tell you that I'm really no exception to that. Uh, I tell people I finished 21 grades, and when I first started doing chainsaws, it was frustrating. Guess what? It's still frustrating. I've been doing this for years now, and these things still throw me for a loop. This one was having an issue I'd never seen before with the base was not sealing well, and I was having I didn't know that the plastic case actually shrinks a little bit. So what happens then is the metal inserts stick up, and you can go back and see my other live videos that show that over the last few days, last week, whatever it was, and what I did to fix that. Just you have to grind down the actual plastic chassis. But on metal chassis saws, you don't exactly have that problem. Metal chassis saws crack though, so you have those issues. Um, so yeah, chainsaws tend to be one of the most super useful, best bang for buck tools on the planet, yet they're incredibly frustrating. I know, that's why we have Ken. Next best thing to my grandfather, right? So for those people that don't know, James and Ken are moderators on the channel. Not really to police people, but to help fill in the gaps. And they've been doing a good job at that, so appreciate both of them. It is fun policing people, though. All right, almost there. Let's get the handle on. Speaking of policing people, looks like James found his first victim today. And in case anybody on the channel doesn't know, we're just having fun. It's okay. By and large, what am I thankful for? If we're doing this Thanksgiving stuff, one thing I would be thankful for is certainly for you guys. This has been a kick. I first discovered doing live videos last year before, whatever it was. Wasn't too terribly long ago. And before that, I had been doing all the editing and stuff. I'd shoot 5 hours worth of video, and I'd spend another 5 at least editing it, and you edit it down to half an hour and then post it, and people are like, the video's too long, and so it just got really, really frustrating to have to do all the editing and whatnot, and then to still have trouble with it. So I really don't do much editing anymore. I discovered doing these live videos, and by doing the fireside chats, I was just trying to see who would show up, just to listen to me talk about whatever. And people showed up. Couldn't believe it. And we get to talk about interesting stuff, you know. And so the community here has been really, really great. Not too much in the way of trolls. We've had in general, we've had really good discussions. Everybody plays nice. And what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for that. I really like it when everybody plays nice and you know, and gets along with each other and helps each other out. Love that. Just love it. So woke up this morning and snuggled with my 2 kids. So nothing wrong with that either. Yeah. Husky now uses T27. Yeah, for the new stuff. If you're getting new bolts, they've converted from the 4mm Allen to T27. That's a mixing well delete button. Stanley says, well, I've had an acre of woods and you cleared out, want to put a small apple orchard. Yeah, it's time. It's time. Okay, let's see what we got for... Oh, you know what? We can't do compression until I get a decompression valve in there. We'll get one out of the ultrasonic. Maybe a wall hanger. It's 2 companion buddies hanging just over my toolbox. I think people get use out of the 028. I think the 038 has a little bit more of a following. Like some people have like a real obsessiveness with the 038s. Make sure this is real clean with the brake cleaner. But I guess it really depends on what you're doing, you know. If you need big saws, then I have a few for sale. I got a 288 that's pretty nice, and I have a 394 that's for sale as well. If you need smaller stuff, then it just kind of depends. Stanley, that's probably the case. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Husky Echo still. I tell you what, Stanley, where are you in Ohio? What town? Are you anywhere near Newcomerstown, Ohio? Because Performance Outdoor is there. You know, talk to a guy named Nate at Performance Outdoor. Really solid guy. He'll hook you up. I buy parts from him all the time. All right. 250. Husky Echo Steel. It depends on what you're doing. You want the new stuff? You want the old stuff? What do you want to do? Are you a tree guy? Yeah, supposedly that 590 is really where it's at for bang for buck. I've never actually tried one. But I keep hearing, as far as bang for buck goes today, that's about where it is. Unless you want to build stuff yourself. You want to build stuff yourself? Supposedly that the new Husky 572 is really absolutely incredible. If you can't stand tuning chainsaws, that tunes it for you, you know? Right, like the 460. The 455 and 460 Ranch are effectively the same saw, it's just the 460's got a slightly bigger bore to it. Yeah, hello Kim. There's my link to HL Supply. You can get all kinds of parts there. If you buy from HL Supply, I get credit for it. So it's one of the best ways to support the channel. So everybody here, click on that link, and then if you buy something in the next month, it tracks you. So if you buy something in the next month, then I get credit for it. Echo 310 have a 180 steel. Those are the two little saws. So Stanley, get a big saw. All right, here we go. Choke on. Primered. That was fast. Gotta watch for the clutches flying off. I'll hit that with the impact here a little bit harder. I'm using the True Fuel stuff for right now. Yeah, I mix with regular like marine grade 2-cycle. I don't typically do anything super fancy. There are guys that swear by all kinds of different types of oils. Generally, it's not me. super nice upgrade for these. I do 40 to 1. 32, 40 to 1, somewhere in there. I'm not picky. But then again, I also don't I don't have a problem rebuilding a chainsaw. There are other people that are super picky about their ratios and swear by this and that and all the other thing. I don't know. I really don't even know what to think about all of it. I tend to like a little bit extra oil. So 40 to 1, 32 to 1, somewhere in there is what I typically run. But again, I don't do lots of cutting. You know, I'm not a logger. I'm not a feller. I'm not a logger. That's not me. So I don't see worn out saws. I see trashed saws, like utterly wrecked saws for the most part. You know. I can tell you exactly how many times I've ever seen a cylinder head that was simply worn out. And the answer is 0. So if you are concerned with how long something lasts, the question is not how long does it last, but what is the point of failure? And 99 times out of 100, it's not the quality of the cylinder head. Yeah, the 572 is going to cost you an arm and a leg, but I think with that saw, you're probably going to get what you pay for. Which I already see oil coming out of this, so I think we're good. You know, Steve, I almost never pay attention to horsepower numbers, but I'll tell you something funny. I'm pretty convinced you can get these 350s at 5 horsepower. That's a 44.3 millimeter cylinder head, 44.3 millimeter wide piston. The Husky 460, just for comparison's sake, I think is a 49 millimeter head. So the power to weight on a 350 is significantly better. If you go in there and mess with it a little bit, you can really rip with these things. Okay. Put the bar and chain back on here. And we'll do a tour here. Oh. No wonder his oiler ain't working. Bar's clogged. But the oiler works fine. Well, it was a volunteer fire department. Okay. Is it anywhere near Newcomerstown? I don't know Ohio that well, so if you're anywhere near Nate, Newcomerstown, Ohio, look him up. It's called Performance Outdoor. Oh, out of Kleenex is not bad. What was I going to use that for? I don't know. So yeah, nice upgrade on these 350s is actually the 455 or 460 Rancher clutch cover. It makes adjusting the bar a lot easier. Metal splinter in my foot. Can't have that. Okay. So there's the 350 for my buddy Steve. This is for my buddy Steve. Your 350 is ready to rock yet again. As long as that base holds, we're good. Yeah, Stanley, James had some land to clear as well, and I sent him a Husky 268, kind of old school, that was fully rebuilt. James, how many tanks do you think you have through that thing this year alone? So he's got a few tanks through that saw. $300 tanks. About 100 gallons of fuel through one chainsaw. I think the biggest key to that is doing bolt checks on that saw. Just make sure all the bolts are good. Makes a huge difference. Okay, you ready for a tour here? Some of those trees are pretty big. Have to come down 65cc. Yeah, if you want to, ideally, the best saw to handle a 24-inch bar is a 372. if I'm thinking of what an ideal saw is with a 24-inch bar, you really want a 372. Yeah, you can get away. You can get away with that 590 or the 460 Rancher. Um, but the best saw for that is a 24-inch bar. 24-inch bar is 372. So you guys wanted a tour. There's the saw I just put together. So here's the mess that I'm in. I've got all of my shelves over there. That's usually where the camera is, pointed right there. And I'm unburying myself. One thing I didn't show you guys from yesterday was a piece of unaffordium and unobtainium. A 288 high top. I don't know why they put 2 holes in it, but whatever. I really doubt it was on a 180. 181 stickers on here, but I just have a hard time believing that it was actually on a 181, but whatever. And the air horn that goes with it. Again, unaffordium and unobtainium. That's a high top air horn. So one day we'll be putting together a 288. Anyway, I've got all kinds of stuff under here. I got the as-is 372 is hanging out in that box under there. Still waiting on that. And got my carry-around box. That's just what I kind of use around the yard, you know. My toolbox for chainsaw tools. This I made like in 8th grade or something, like wood shop. But my toolbox back here. So we'll quick. I'm essentially, I have a triangle. I've got here, I've got here, and I've got here. And now I just need like right, but anyway, whatever. So yeah, so even though this is kind of a funky bench to work on, it seems to work for me. Certainly some of my favorite tools are actually already out on the bench. I love my little Bosch drill drivers. They all have the same battery, including my Dremel tool. It uses the same battery pack, which is very nice. Another favorite tool of mine is the DeWalt Impact. That thing has been really good for me. It's very small and compact. It's not amazing at taking off lug nuts, but certainly it'll drive just about anything pretty well. The porting handpiece, it's a copy of a Marathon 3 Dental Lab handpiece. This is only like $90, so they're not that expensive. What the issue for these is the right angle heads get eaten pretty quick. They eat themselves, and they're $13 a piece, so they're not that expensive. But you might spend, you know, expend a couple of them doing a port job. So it depends on, you know, whether you want to pay for port work or whether you want to pay for port work. Sorry. Anyway, this is the Warhawk cylinder I stuck in that, so I was just working on today. And we don't need that anymore. And we don't need that anymore. So let's see. Under here, all kinds of stuff. Midivac, Mightyvac, whatever. Parts and stuff, and that's the big toolbox that actually has the 1/2-inch stuff in it. It's pretty heavy. And then you have my U.S. General toolbox here. If you look underneath, you look very closely, you can see that the base of this has been reinforced with plywood. That hugely stiffens the box. These tend to be flexy, and the casters, when they're initially put on, are not spread out as far as they could be. With the additional reinforcement under there, the casters are further out, so this is less likely to tip. So I've got things like 1/4-inch drive up here, SAE and metric. Found this cool set on eBay. Just all kinds of miscellaneous drivers, especially the long ones. That wasn't too bad. That was like $18 shipped. A favorite drawer, all my Allens. So these are the long Allens that I love, ball and non-ball and Allens. Again, Harbor Freight, but man, they've been really, really good for me. And what was nice, I busted one of these ball Allens off on the impact, and I was stupid, you're not supposed to use them with an impact, but I busted it off, and I walked back in the store, and they gave me a new one. So I told them I'm not going to do that again. Adapters and things and taps, and we got taps, dies, inserts, threaded inserts, very helpful. Speed outs, taps, M14 taps for threaded inserts for spark plugs, stuff like that. Just hand wrenches, nothing fancy. Pliers. My Dremel, grinding stuff, Dremel stuff. Kind of my catch-all top, what I would consider the top drawer, but this is my catch-all. I'm ordering stuff. Don't do that anymore. Yeah, screwdrivers and that type of thing in here. Batteries and my measuring stuff. So, and a few of the miscellaneous chainsaw tools, like these are, instead of using Coke cans to put seals in, these are the Husky tools to do that. The seal slides over that, over the lip on the crank. 3/8 drive sockets, 1/2-inch drive stuff. One of my favorite drawers, gear wrenches. Love my gear wrenches. Drill bits. And then I've got my air hammer there, case splitter. There's a bunch of grinding stuff in here, old bearings and whatnot. Sometimes I need them for this, that, the other thing. Some crank tools, pieces, some of the original prototypes and stuff. And this, when I bought this box, I got I got the box for like $200 from a pawn shop, which was great. It came with like the base of it underneath this drawer was actually full of like 1/4-inch drive stuff, 1/4-inch drive sockets. So I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't know. So just kind of left them in the bottom drawer. So this is where I keep nuts and washers for the crank tools that I sell. One day it'd be nice to go through here. So there's my toolbox tour. And of course I got, other piles of randomness here, but plumbing stuff, grinding stuff, miscellaneous tool bucket that's nice to bring around if you're doing certain things. And that's about it for the tour here. Yeah, Nate over at Performance Outdoors is a good guy. And I'm pretty sure he carries Echo. So, questions, comments, anything, guys? Sorry, I'm just going back to. Hey, Vince. Yeah. We've just been kind of hanging out here. I got that other 350 together. That green 5120 pool on is gone, or 5020, whatever it was. So now I'm just kind of cooking along here. What else? I think that's basically it for the day. Time to go do some cooking, hang out with the family a little bit. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Vince, you just missed the Toolbox tour. Turkey with gallons of gravy. Not a real gravy fan, so. A little bit, I'm fine. Just a little, but I don't need lots of gravy. Yeah, if anybody needs any crank tools or is interested, they can always email me. Steve, thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate you guys hanging out. This is such a kick for me to do this stuff live and interact with people. So if anybody has questions or comments, it just makes the chat that much more fun, that much more enjoyable to be part of something. So if nobody has anything else going, I think I'll say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I appreciate you guys, and if I find something else that's interesting, I will let you guys know. Okay? Take care. Have a good one, guys. Bye.